Okay, I will just, um, I've just changed it in here. Maybe Diego, can you hear me now? Because I just changed it onto a whole other setting altogether. A whole other setting. Oh my word, this is a cosmic prayer of all cosmic prayers. And in a way, it's good that I'm here on my own, and that if we were with a guest, maybe we'd be going through a certain amount of volume difficulties. So, Diego, I'm just waiting for you to let me know that everything is okay now and that you can hear me clearly. It sounds good now on YouTube. Fantastic. I've just changed the settings here on audio is not working. Okay, on Facebook. Oh my gosh. Well, look, on YouTube I'm working. Maybe on Facebook it will catch up. Maybe something will happen on Facebook and suddenly it'll go ping. Yes, I'm praying and knowing that that happens. Oh, the joys of technology. So we're looking at prayer through the eyes of one of the mystics known as Reverend Nona Brooks, and I'm intrigued by her book Mysteries. Yes, that works. Sound clear on Facebook too. Thank you. So Wayne, I'm really affirming that you get to hear me too now as well. Thank you, Diego. There is something going on with the settings here. Anyway, that's been and gone. Let's start afresh. Welcome to Cosmic Prayer. It's me, myself, and I here today talking about prayer, sharing about prayer, and opening up discussion about prayer. Why do we need prayer? What's going on with us? Why is it that prayer is such an important practice and tool for our lives? Why do we actually, what is it that happens when we pray? And I just thought, okay, there isn't a guest here today, and that's a good thing, because I felt that it was really powerful also to just have a breathing space, as I'd like to connect with you personally and to share my idea as it has evolved over the last couple of years from doing this broadcast, my idea of prayer, and also to tap into one person in particular, and that is Reverend Nona Brooks, who was the creator, the founder, the idea of divine science. And she wrote a book called Mysteries. And in that book, she outlines the mystery of all sorts of things, the mystery of many different topics. And one of those topics in this book, which, by the way, was published in 1924, one of the mysteries that she talks about is the mystery of prayer. What is it about prayer that feels as if we are, we're talking into the abyss, into the nothingness, and maybe that's why for so many, centuries gone by, the idea of prayer, of pleading and begging and wondering, is because it's the idea that we're kind of speaking to the nothingness. And we don't know what happens when we speak our word, and it's all a mystery. And yet I know, and I'm sure that you know here too, as you're here, that we're not speaking into the nothingness. We're speaking into the divine, infinite intelligence that knows everything and that responds to our every word. So this prayer doesn't go out vacantly into a question mark of, will anybody hear me? The prayer is being said internally, and it is being witnessed and responded to by the creative law. And so Nona Brooks knew this. Oh, there we are, the mysteries of focused mental energy. Absolutely, where our attention goes, energy flows. When we focus on what it is that we truly desire, and by the way, if we can get that desire down to a quality, a spiritual quality. So for example, if it's a you know, if it's a car that we desire, let's get into the feeling of what that car would, you know, how we would feel in the car, with the car, driving the car, confidence, freedom, ability to move and travel. And once we're encapsulating that essence of that and the feeling of that, and it's amazing, because what we're doing is allowing all sorts of other beautiful experiences come into our life, not only the car. So anyway, getting back to this point, thank you, Diego, and thank you so much for checking the volume here. I really, really appreciate you. I wouldn't have known there was no volume if you wouldn't have told me. So, and Wayne, so thank you, both of you. And Wayne, of course, big rainbow circles of hugs. For coupled people too, absolutely. For everybody that's here, whether we are on our own journey, adventuring this experience of life, or with another, big hugs all. So let's get back to this idea that when we pray, we are praying with something. We're using consciousness. We're using the creative law. And the creative law is an attribute of God. It's not the wholeness of God. God is the idea of law. And our thoughts and our words are the idea of God coming through us. So prayer almost, as Diego said, it focuses, it allows us to focus what it is we truly, truly desire, and allows us to become the container of receptivity for whatever it is. So when we're praying, we're not wondering whether it's going to happen, because what we are praying into and with is a responsive essence that is continually responding to everything we're thinking, feeling, and intending. It's alive. It's alive. And the difficulty that we have as human beings is that we tend to believe that this thing itself, this divine creative intelligence, doesn't exist, and that we're here on this physical plane and this is it. And yet those of us that know, because of a deeper commitment to revealing that within ourselves at whatever degree, but feel that there is something other, something greater happening. This cannot be taken away from us. So we live in the physical world, and yet where we are living from is the infinite. So when we're praying from the infinite. We're not asking anything out there to change. We are knowing that as we're changing ourselves and our own perception of all of it, that it will appear. I love that word, appear. It has a really kind of a mysterious quality to it, an appearance, because it is all about our perception as well. All this is flicking. We're thinking and what we're feeling and what we're focusing on, and how we're seeing ourselves, how we're seeing our life expressed. This is all prayer. It's all a living prayer. So there's something Ernest Holmes, and I'll come back to Nona in a moment. I just want to say this in here. Somebody reminded me of this the other day. Something Ernest Holmes talks about, and that is our mental atmosphere. So it's kind of like we have a mental equivalent, a set point of what we believe that we are creating the container for, on what we desire for our lives, and we create this mental equivalent using spiritual mind treatment. We're creating a container within ourselves, a receptivity, a vessel. We're becoming a greater container for it. And our mental atmosphere are the thoughts and the feelings and the attitudes and the kind of vibe that we're giving off as we are awaiting and knowing that this is happening for our lives, this is what we are kind of setting forth and in motion. So we're responsible for what is going on within ourselves and how we are diffusing that out into this world of form. And that is what's going to bring what we are desiring into form, easily and effortlessly and gracefully. If you're watching me here now, then welcome to Cosmic Prayer today. My name is Reverend Laura, and I'm feeling very grateful to be here and very grateful that technology is working perfectly. We're going to have a little look at this book called Mysteries by Nona Brooks. I'll just put this in here, then we can by Nona Brooks. If you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like to share, then absolutely, please do so here and now. So Nona Brooks, yes, she was the founder of Divine Science, and we're kind of in Nona Brooks week as Reverend Dr. Peggy Hostetler will be on the Wisdom of the Mystics tomorrow, and she'll be sharing some things about Nona Brooks. And I wanted to talk about prayer and just to introduce Nona a little bit for the show tomorrow, which I know will be an exciting program. And she says in here that it seems that prayer she opens with this sentence. And I'm going to take away this literary, grammatical way of talking, which is where she uses men and him. And I'm going to just calm this down and bring this into what I know as the truth. Prayer has seemed a mystery to humans because they have not understood the nature of relation between God and human beings and humanity. So if we don't know, if we're not aware that there is this greater thing, this thing that itself that Ernest Holmes talks about, that is here and happening and live, and the idea of life itself, if we're not aware of this, there are many names for it. You know, we call it love, life, light, divine intelligence, infinite intelligence, creative force, source, Hashem, Allah. There are many names, and we can just call it love or this thing itself. We know and feel that there is something else here, but it's not something else, it's the thing itself. I think he really got it right when he called it, and his films named it as the thing itself. It's what it is, and when we're praying from that place, that's when we know that we will be demonstrating gracefully. When God was thought of as abiding in heaven and ruling the earth from a throne on high, far from the homes of humans, there was reason in belief that God did not know the thoughts and needs of ideas of the earth dwellers. I really like this, what she says, because it's so true, isn't it? That we've been trained to believe that God is in the sky, that God is outside of us, that that never, ever comes near or close to us and doesn't know us. And what she's saying here, Nona Brooks, is, well, how can we have this relationship with something that we don't know is here, not believe that it is a part of us? So the whole essence of prayer, I believe, is to kind of walk that bridge, or to have that invisible bridge in our minds, and where we're stepping over the temenos, we're stepping over the threshold of simply knowing that this material world is not the is not the cause of everything. It's the effect, and the cause is in God, which is in us, which is in, as, and through us. So science, mind, and spirit, which was created and philosophized and brought into being by Dr. Ernest Holmes. He named it with the worldview of qualified non-dualism, which means that he doesn't believe, and we don't believe as religious scientists, we don't believe that the material world is that comes from our brain and that is it's unchangeable. We believe that everything comes from the changeless, which is God, and everything is changeable. And we don't believe that this material world doesn't exist. So we don't believe in an idealistic worldview where we think that all of this is a dream, because we can touch it, we can feel it. I can touch the desk and the microphone. You can touch the computer and your hair, and we can feel it. So we know that it's here. So qualified non-dualism means that we are in this non-dual state, and that we are the living expression of the divine. We're the living expression of God. So when we're praying, there's no separation. There can't be, because God is in us and through us. So the first two parts of the prayer, which are the recognition and the unifying, are a remembering of this, because we don't remember it. We're busy in our lives. We're doing everything that we're doing in our day. We're out and about or at home doing stuff. We get distracted. There's even more. There's social media and computers, and businesses are online, and it's a lot of meetings and calls and all sorts of things happening, and we forget. As spiritually aware as we are, we forget. Because for many of us, we're not living in a monastery or in an ashram or in a temple. Many are, but many of us we're not. We're living in a world, in a society where there's a lot going on and we get distracted. And so we don't even give ourselves the time to reconnect with prayer and to know who we truly are. And the more that we do this, the more that we become informed of who we are. Listen, and we open up to the vision of who we are. So she goes on, Nona Brooks, to say, for centuries, our thinking has been in terms of space and time. That we believe in space and time. Hence, heaven seemed a long distance from us, and the time when God walked with Adam in the garden at the close of the day seemed an eternity. According to this conception, God had visited the world after creating it, but had withdrawn his mighty presence to become a ruling power. Hence, in order to reach this presence, it was necessary that humans became subservient, as they did in relation to earthly kings, and implore the mercy of this heavenly king. This is Nona Brooks. This is what she's saying, and it really made sense to me when I read this earlier. That we see God as this king, and we see the king as, or the queen, as somebody that we would never be in direct conversation with on a daily basis. They're eons away, they're worlds away. And so when we have been used to communing with the divine, it's almost been from a place of, will you listen to me now? Will you listen to me? I'm here and I'm praying and I'm knowing, and are you hearing me? Will you listen to me? Am I important or vital enough for you to listen to me? Am I important or vital enough to be heard? And if we are going into prayer with this idea of not knowing the truth of our own divine magnificence from the get-go, then how can we be have that conviction that there will be a demonstration. It becomes a pledge and a wish rather than an affirmation and a confirmation of what we already know. So it's flipping it all around, really, and knowing that as we know that God is residing, this divine, creative, infinite intelligence resides transcendentally and intimately within, that we can reach God within. In fact, we don't have to reach God. God's already just there. We just open our hearts and say, hello, I'm here right now, and I know I'm you and you're me, and I can access this communion right now as I step over and surrender. So Nona Brooks goes on to say, it was a kind of misinformation here that God had withdrawn. God withdrew itself after creating everything and left the world to get on, and left us all to get on with it all. Almost as if, okay, you're out there now doing it, you're doing everything, and I don't need to be here. So we have felt there's this huge disconnect. And that's what I love about science of mind and spirit, this philosophy, is that it instantly, as we begin studying it and learning from it, it instantly narrows any gap that we may have had an idea of between us and God being separate. Because the whole basis of this philosophy is oneness. And so when we say that we care about other people around the world and what they're going through, and we believe in oneness, and we believe in love being this essence that is everywhere as everything, when we say that about others on the planet that may be suffering, or those that even are creating the suffering for themselves and others, when we say that, how can we say that we honor oneness if it has a kind of a set point to it, and then we're not honoring that we're one as and with this divine presence, that it's in and as each of us, expressing uniquely as we do. So science of mind and spirit asks us, it invites us to open our hearts to knowing who we are. And this is the basis of what she's saying here. So let's go back to this idea of earthly kings and queens. I'm going to add queens in here and implore kings and queens. Some among the children of this earth have seemed favored by this ruling power. Others were less favored. So the idea that kings and queens would have favored certain people and not favored other people. And if we're putting God on this kind of, in this person in the sky archetype, then there's this idea that God is favoring some people, just like a king or a queen would, and not favoring others, so that we're not all, so there's kind of like a hierarchy. This we know is not the truth. There is no hierarchy here, because we are all the individualization of this one, showing up in our individual ways as the one. Without any of us here right now, we can't be without any of us here right now, because if we believe in the soul, the onward evolution of the soul, then we know that we are never going anywhere. Even if our physical body isn't here, we know we are always here on whatever plane, stage or state. So some among the children of this earth seemed favored by this ruling power. Others were less favored, or in fact were disfavored, hence the mystery. Humans sought to reach the mighty one by various methods: sacrifice of possessions, expiation or individual repentance and supplication were the most commonly enjoyed means. It is the relation of supplication to the new form of prayer that we'll discuss in this chapter. So what she's talking about, Nona Brooks, and I'm not going to read any more of it because I think this is like enough content from her. It's beautiful what she's saying. That we try in all these kind of manipulative ways to reach God. And so prayer became a huge kind of like an accountability. Maybe if we pray well, it will happen. If we don't pray well, it won't happen. Well, we know with this teaching, learning more and more and embracing ourselves in the science of mind and spirit, we realize that every word is a prayer. And it's not that God would or wouldn't listen to a particular request for a demonstration or desire in our hearts. It's not that God kind of switches off at certain points in our day or in our life. God is 24/7 every single day of every single, because God is always here. So it's not that God is hearing some things and not hearing other things. It's our own personal responsibility to know that it's what we're saying and what we believe that will demonstrate or not. So when Ernest Holmes talks about Jesus, the master teacher, Matthew 6, I think is, it is done unto you as you believe. We're like that connecting piece. We are the power that plugs into the wall. And if we're not plugging ourselves in, we can say the prayer just without feeling and without meaning and without conviction and without any kind of belief that what we're saying is actually us saying it to ourselves with the God within, and we're the ones that are activating it. If we don't believe that, and that we are not kind of 50% over or 70% over the threshold of really believing, then the demonstration will take longer. It will take longer because we're not fully committing ourselves to knowing that every single word is a prayer. It doesn't just happen in spiritual mind treatment. In spiritual mind treatment, we practice so that we can remember and remember and remember who we are again. And yet those times in between the treatment, the hours that go by when we're not constantly saying treatment every hour, unless we are, those gaps of time, or that, those lengths of time when we are with ourselves in the day and getting on with whatever we're doing, if we're not reminding ourselves of the divine magnificence, the divinity of who we are, and feeling it, really feeling it, then it's easy for the brain to take us into a place of either fear or doubt or lack, or we begin to start planting seeds, a beautiful garden that we've planted with fresh seeds of roses and wonderful tropical flowers. We kind of then plant weeds. So our work is to be consistent. And consistency isn't something I don't think that we really talk about a lot in our teaching. And I believe, though, that it is a part of our teaching. It is a necessary part of our teaching, because without consistency, we're not retraining the old thought processes, and we're not building new synapses in our brain and in the neural pathways. So we're not creating new neurotransmissions of what it is that we truly, truly desire and believe in, and the old ways will come back. So we have consistency, prayer without ceasing, consistency to know that what we're saying in every moment really, really matters. And not only what we're saying, what we're feeling, what we're intending, our mental atmosphere. Our mental atmosphere matters. Kathy, good morning to you. Kathy, it's great to be here with you this morning. I'm here in the UK. I love the emojis. If there's anything you'd like to comment on or to share, or just to say about prayer, if you have any questions or whatever, any teachings that you would like to share, then please do share here. We're on the Cosmic Prayer. And of course, we are here with New Thought Media Network, which is a love-filled global focus ministry, sharing programs just like this every single day of the year. And even after this program, we are practicing prayer and with Reverend Bill, and then after that, you're doing for grief with Bonnie Gonzalez. So we have podcasts coming out continually because there's consistency. You see, really, New Thought Media Network is a living prayer because we're here all the time, affirming and confirming the truth. And holy in the divine flow, that's exactly what we are, Wayne, holy in the divine flow, holy in the divine flow, because we are whole, perfect and complete, just as we are. And so when it comes to our prayer practice, what I believe, the Cosmic Prayer is 2 years now, over 2 years since it broadcast in August 2020, Reverend Serena Hemmer as the first super guest that came onto the prayer. Wow, that was amazing. And she's been back since. And so many guests and speakers and teachers and practitioners and ministers, beautiful people have come on every week to share about their idea. It's been one long conversation, and they're all on YouTube. You can access all of the previous Cosmic Prayers. And there may be teachers that you really inspire you, and you could listen to that episode and get their idea on prayer. Because really everybody has a different idea of prayer. We're all individualized expressions of the one. And as we are individualized, we're going to have our unique expression and the unique way that we find to connect and to commune and to get closer to that knowing of this thing itself. And so really the prayer is deeper than the words. The prayer is about knowing oneness. And every time we use spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, we are knowing oneness. We're coming away from this idea that we're separate, and that God is separate, and that God is out there and isn't interested in us. So our work is to diffuse that idea, that lie, concept, the veil of separation. Our work is to get closer. And Dr. Ernest Holmes knew that through prayer, we could do this. Now, another way that has worked for many people is to regularly set a timer on our clock or on our phones, to actually intentionally bring ourselves back to that place. I know that Dr. Ernest Holmes did this. Every hour on the hour, he reminded himself of who he was as God and who he was. So we can't listen to broadcasts all day long. We can make a set intention, connect with the divine every hour, and to know who we are and whose we are. Because we need to reprogram, or we're being invited to reprogram from that old, archaic, archetypal understanding of what God is and create a new, fresh idea so that we can live a God-filled life. And if you think of it, if God is all of these amazing things, light and love and life, beauty, power, abundance, joy, and wisdom and truth. Well, truth is the main kind of attribute of God. If God is all of these things, then I am this and you are this too. So my question is where are we blocking? Where are we putting these blocks into being this expression so fully for our lives? By just being it right here where we are right now, we feel overflowed. We feel overflowed with this communion and this connection. And of course, we all have things going on in our lives. We do. Yes, we do. 2 hands to that. We all have our daily things, the thing that we're learning through, the growing points, the growing edges, the final frontiers, the things that we know are our growing edge, shifting, healing, transformative learnings. We all have them and they're different for each of us. And at times in life, sometimes we have more than one of those things going on at one time. Sometimes it can be financial, health, relationships, home and work and separation all in one year. You know, it's like it can happen where we can feel that our lives are just breaking down and falling apart. Sometimes it doesn't just, you know, happen one thing at a time where it feels like I can handle this, and then it's, oh, this and this and this. And these times when this happens, it's a direct opportunity for us to really, 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 really look at who we think we are, whose we think we are, and to change and transform the way that we're doing things in our lives, beginning from within. And it's not always easy. It's, you know, spiritual teachers and leaders say it's simple, not easy. It's simple because it's just a switch. And yet it's not easy because it's a leap of faith. It's a big leap of faith into the unknown. Because this thing itself, in its true, ineffable essence, as its ineffable essence, cannot be seen. And yet it can be known. It can be known as love. It can be known as peace. It can be known as the feeling of abundance and joy and beauty. And it can be seen when demonstrated into form. So when we look at our lives and see and think, wow, why is this still like this? And why hasn't this happened yet? We're then being invited to use prayer. Not because we want that thing to demonstrate necessarily, I mean, not only because, but because we want to get closer to knowing who we are and who we are. And that's the relationship with us and the divine that is seated within us. So this is prayer, this is the work. Before I discovered prayer, before I just really, I was, you know, being brought up in the Judaic religion, where prayer was very much about emotion, even though I didn't understand the words because they were in Hebrew. I knew when prayer was happening, and I would switch into a feeling, because in that tradition, prayer is often sung. It's often said in a kind of song-like way, and there's a rhythm to it, and there's a feeling, a deep feeling that goes in with that. So even though I didn't understand the words, I would know when prayer was happening. And I would be cognizant of that, and I would feel it. On some level, though, I wasn't mentally accepting it because I didn't understand the words, and I wanted to discover ways to understand it so that I could be clear with it myself. And when I discovered affirmative prayer, cosmic prayer, I realized that I could have this incredible relationship through prayer with God that's in me. And I could have fun with that. And I could experiment, use prayer in different ways, sometimes very quickly. Sometimes I'd sit there for an hour, you know, if I feel that this thing needs working out and through within my mind, mentally, and handing over to God. And sometimes very quick, I can do boom, boom, yes, that's it, it's done, and I know. And so we get to play with this, experiment, and find our own way of connecting. Ultimately, that's what this is all about. Embracing and embodying our connection with the divine that is infinite in nature. And if we know that in God and as God and with God, all is possible right now. God is the infinite expression of everything. So when we're praying, we take our minds to that infinite. We know that there are universes and multiverses away from this one or with this one, but you know, there's more than we could ever imagine. And so when we bring ourselves back down to earth and look at the minutiae of what's in the kitchen drawer or what's on the cupboard shelf, we know too that this is God expressing. This is all the one expressing itself right now. So we then know that we're not separate from it. And with this infinite, knowing this infinite, we can work with God to know what it is that we truly desire, whether it's a feeling, whether it's an attribute, or whether it's a physical demonstration into a world form. And we command it, we commune it, and we know that it's done. Then we let it go. And then we do it again. And then we let it go. And then we do it again. And then we let it go. And every time we're doing it, we're increasing, expanding that container and increasing our mental equivalent and expanding our mental atmosphere, which is what I talked about in the beginning. So God-centered, living a God-centered life means living a life where we know that God is within and we're praying within. And there's no need to beg, there's no need to wonder. We just know it's done. And we're expectantly awaiting it, the demonstration, to happen right now. That's my cosmic prayer, and of course, Wayne, with Golden Bubble of Peace. I just love that. I really would love to add that into the prayer actually today, that we are the golden bubble of peace. That's what I'm going to pray on right now, if that's okay with you, Wayne. If there's anything else that you would like added into this cosmic prayer right now, as I come to the kind of closing time of our time together on the cosmic prayer. Yes, of course, are coming back next week, and up to Christmas we have wonderful guests coming on to the cosmic prayer. So I'm feeling really grateful I could be here today, right now, to speak my truth, just to check in and to be free to share and to commune with you all here, and to say spiritual mind treatment, to treat here with you out loud, and to know the truth for this golden bubble of peace, that peace is here right now in our hearts. So I'm going to invite you, if you want to close your eyes, that would be amazing. If you don't want to close your eyes, there's a candle there. You can just place your attention on that beautiful light, flame of light that's that's forever illuminating in the candle holder there. And I'm going to close my eyes and to know that the purpose of this spiritual mind treatment, this affirmative prayer, is to know the golden bubble of peace and to be living from it, because peace is always here. So as I breathe this in, just know this with me. Taking a breath, opening my heart and my mind to recognizing the one, this one power, presence, God. This one power, presence, love. This one power, presence, light, life, joy, beauty, peace, harmony, abundance. This one power, presence that is the infinite expressing. It is eternal. And it is perfect, whole, and complete right now as it is. This one power, presence, the thing itself, back of everything. First cause, the idea of itself manifesting into form as this expansive experience of life. The worlds and the multiverses and stars and solar systems and galaxies and moons and suns. All of this is the idea of life. This is the effect. And behind all of this is God. And I know that I am this, and I unite and get closer to this knowing of who and whose I am. Of course, God is seated in my heart, for we are one, and there is one, and in no separation at all. So I know that I am the emanation of the divine, that God is living and breathing and having its being through me. And as I open up and realize this more and more and more, I become a greater vessel of this divine presence, which is life, light, love, joy, peace, harmony, abundance, prosperity, health, well-being, vitality, wisdom. It is all shining its light through me right now. So I open to be a greater vessel for this, a greater instrument of this. Yes. I allow myself to be the greater instrument of the divine. And I know that peace is here, this golden bubble of peace in my heart, seated in my heart. So I see and know and feel peace around me everywhere. I feel this peace for me, and I feel it for you and as you right now. Whatever's going on in our lives, that peace prevails. Because this peace is the foundation, the cornerstone, and the bedrock of God. Out of this chaos is peace. Peace is here right now. So as I take a breath and live from this peace, it's not a destination, it's where I am right now. Centered in this peace is abundance, is health, is love and joy. I know that it is all here as God is all here right now. God is everywhere and complete as it is everywhere. So here in my idea, as my idea of God, I know that all of these attributes exist. I know that my thoughts and my words are the tools of God. I know that the creative law is the tool of God, that God is back of every single thing, and that this one thing behind everything is the shining light of peace. So I breathe this in and I feel this now, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for being here, for this time together, for the tremendous communication, for the technology that is working perfectly. I'm grateful for all of the peace that is demonstrated in my life and in each of our lives in every moment. I know that as I say yes to this, there is a ripple that goes out that is so, so strong and so huge. that it affects everything, everywhere. And this is the ripple of peace. I let this go, I let this be, knowing that it is done, with gratitude for all of those that have been before, that are students and teachers of this teaching, keeping it going, knowing its power. And I know that God is here as love, as peace, and so it is. And this is the cosmic prayer for today. And bless you for being here. And all of your comments, and for being present and available. And if you want to go back and see this from the beginning, then I would wait and go in 15 minutes in because that's where the volume was on. And other than that, I'll be back here tomorrow with Wisdom of the Mystics with Reverend Cate and Dr. Reverend Peggy Hostetler. We will be talking about the minister and reverend and founder of Divine Science, Nona Brooks. Stay tuned in now to New Thought Media Network because we have practical prayer coming up with Reverend Bill. And then after that, a little bit later on, your doula for grief with wonderful Bonnie Gonzalez. Okay, that is it for today. Love and peace and blessings from my heart. And I will keep that knowing of peace. I'm going to put this up. Peace in my heart for all of us right now. New Thought Media Network has an amazing website, and of course there is the donate button as well if you should feel to donate into the vision and mission of the work of this network. Blessings, peace and love to you.